Boom. Welcome, guys, to the Urban Crossfire podcast. Today I'm with Zion, Jakari, and our special guest, Zenjay Jackson. And yeah, guys, welcome.
So Jay was basically just detailing like his name and like where he came from and
Yeah,
how he was close to suburbia, but
not quite.
yeah.
But okay. So I lived in a small state, as we might know, as Connecticut, and in Connecticut, I was born in Hartford, which was a hardcore city at the time. There were other hardcore cities, but Hartford was like at the time, like my mom and dad were. My dad was like a huge, and I say this vaguely because I didn't live with him and go through it. I only know just putting pieces together throughout story. Like,
Yeah.
He was well accomplished in the drug industry. He was a Don Dada. He was like a boss in a sense.
Oh,
But he
wow.
transcended that and became more legitimized it, before he can get killed because he was a wild buck. But my mom was that as well. It was a Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing,
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
And so so it's just like it was over the top. You know, death was always possibly around. You know what I mean? Especially in a city like that. And I was their firstborn, and I was born into a world of materialism because my dad made fast, quick money, and but over time it became more of a time thing. It was like, oh, I want to be around them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But before I could even recognize anything, they split apart, so I never seen them together.
Right.
So that in itself has always been a thing for me. That right there has always been like a plot hole.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I moved to East Hartford with my dad, and it was a haunted house, and it was fun, but I was super scared of it later on in life. When I was a kid, my mom told me it was just like because she could hear like like we were in the house one time, and let me say this: my dad moved out of the house, and my mom moved into that house. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
My dad was kind of the supplier like that. Like he can kind of leave those kind of breadcrumbs around, or he could set up people and stuff like that, and help people out.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because we talk a lot about finances and stuff, and and I mentioned to you that my dad was such a provider that he focused on providing so heavily and wanted to reassure that, and I think that had a lot to do with his upbringing to make sure that his kids were well off and all
he
that kind of
wanted
stuff.
to cover all the bases before he like.
Yeah. So it was like it put me in a position to learn from what I saw versus being like spoken to. But my being his firstborn, my relationship with him was always rocky because I was a rebel in a sense.
You do have siblings?
I'm the oldest of 5.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of 5, and my dad recently had not recently, but I have another brother that was born in Jamaica. He's 7 now. His name is Zion.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just.
Shout out to you, bro. What's
Huh?
up? I was saying shout out.
Oh yeah, shout out to him too, because now like he had dual citizenship. Now he's staying over here, and his mom's letting him stay, and she's just like, America's gonna be better, and obviously I guess financially, but I don't want to tell so much of their story because there's so much on their end that they're a guest of them. They're a guest in their own right. My dad's a reggae musician, and he's well known in Jamaica for what he does. Yeah, and
That's a whole documentary right there.
yeah. Oh man, he's working on his book and everything.
Oh,
and
wow.
on top of that, he won he won amateur night at the Apollo, and shook hands with what's his name, Fat Mustache, King of Comedy.
Steve Harvey.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You cannot sleep.
Yes. And I'm a joke for forgetting that because I grew up in King of Comedy era. I grew up with those like the
I only remember 2 of them, to be honest with you.
It was
I just like the fact that Zion knew exactly who you're talking about from Fat Mustache.
Fat Mustache. Fat Mustache is epic. All you need is to do
Actually,
that and his silhouette.
After
You'll
your
see.
story, I have an amazing story about Steve Harvey. I got caught behind his gate at his house.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
My mom. Okay, so my mom is not to cut you off or anything.
Go ahead.
But, like,
Yeah, we're
my
gonna bounce
mom-
about. So
My mom is somewhat of an adventure capitalist. She likes to go and do things before she actually plans them.
Yeah.
So one day she has like this idea. We're driving because she knows Music Soul Child's brother, and he lives like right next. Well, Music Soul Child lives right next to Steve Harvey.
Music, man. I grew up off music with a Q.
And she had him over. Well, he had her over.
Yeah.
And I was out in the car. She comes in the car. She's like, "Oh, Steve Harvey's house is like right around the corner. I want you to go talk to him about your idea."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's his house, though." And I'm like 14, 15. She drives over there. This huge car is coming out, and like there's people, like young people, coming out his house, and they get inside the car, and they like drive out, and I go in through the gate, and she's just like, "Yeah, go ask him if you can like talk to him real quick." And I'm like,
Hey,
"Okay." I go in there, gate closes, I can't get out. Driver comes out. He's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I'm like, "I need to leave."
My name is 14. I'm
Yeah.
Zion.
Yeah. And then I get out and I'm just like, "Let's go." And that was the end of that. But like I got caught behind this gate, and that's really.
Man.
I wanted to go to his little camp. I sent like a whole like prologue of who I was and what I wanted to do, and he just never hit me back.
Should have told him the story. You should have told them this story. He'll probably
No,
be like,
it was like before. Like when I wrote that whole thing, it was before that.
"Oh, okay."
But
okay.
Bro, I love it. I love reaching out. Like I on Twitter, an author that I enjoy, I reach out to him a lot. But thanks to Twitter, they respond.
yeah,
If you do it right and the timing's right,
Yeah.
And it's nice to get that kind of recognition, and it's dope that you were in his driveway, because that is a certain level of alignment in itself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I try to receive all the power from that as much as possible. David Banner fixed my tie. Do you know who David Banner is?
Hey Siri.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like I've heard his name before.
David Banner.
What does he
I
do?
feel like
He was a country rapper, Mississippi.
Mhm.
I mean, he is legendary in his own right. You know what I
Right.
mean? When you think of like 3-6 Mafia,
Oh,
and you think of
wait, hold on.
Outkast, he's
3-6
in that.
Mafia.
He's in that cipher.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you could talk to them about him,
Yeah.
and they would show him love and respect.
Right.
And then he shifted very recently into the politics, and wanted to do stuff. But he also was an actor. And he did The Experiment, which is a good movie. The
I might
Experiment.
have seen that one.
It's an actual real experiment that happened, and Adrian Brody stars in it, and David Banner's in there. And I told him, I said, I really enjoyed what you did in The Experiment, and I said that specifically because it's one of those delicious movies that you have, and it's a part of your cult, but you don't care if it made mega millions. It's like equilibrium.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or like Donnie Darko.
Exactly. And so The Experiment was that, and he got to participate in that. You know what I mean? Or like what Clockwork Orange was at its time. You know what I mean?
Clockwork Orange is a weird ass movie.
And I love it. I love it because it definitely. I learned about. I took a film course in community college a long time ago, and it was a movie I had to study, and that's when it broke me out into like a whole new class of film. Because I grew.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No. I grew up off of film and was so immersed in it in a sort of escapism. Like my mom raised me off horror film, and then that backfired. But we also grew up off. She also raised me off of. When I say raised me, it was like through visitation.
Yeah.
Because she lived over here, I lived with my dad, and that kind of thing. So whenever I go to see her, we would watch Shaw Brother films, which is Shaw Brothers is the production company that makes all the classic kung fu movies,
Yeah.
like 36 Chambers of Shaolin.
Dude,
Yeah.
I told these guys
Yeah.
to watch that. Like, it's such
Yeah.
an old movie that you just see like those things when they just
Bro.
paint the background.
Bro, I'm telling
Dude,
you.
that
If
that
you wanna
movie, I've
see-
seen it like twice.
like,
that
that is-
movie is such a good movie.
That right there is it's like that that time frame.
Yeah.
If you look back at it now, is a great place for content. If you want
Yeah.
to review and talk about it and watch it or react to it, like
Yeah.
you get all of that in one, because it's
Exactly.
so. It's like it's like they asked the neighborhood
to.
It's like they were like, "Hey, yo, y'all want to shoot a movie?"
Yeah, they were doing a lot. They were doing a lot with the little bro for sure.
Dude,
And like, I mean, blood was thick red.
Yeah.
Paint ketchup. You know what I mean?
I loved it though, man.
I loved it, and it's like what Wu-Tang Clan was all about it, and that's when like, and I was unaware of that, but it later made sense, and I didn't know how much in the world I was until like aging and stepping back and being like, wow, like, you know, like now I see where, you know, because like I wanted to because I'm a martial arts film fanatic.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I was a nerd on that until I like just started recognizing it recently.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's levels to that, but I do consider myself, I can hold a conversation. But I wanted to devote a whole TikTok page to just giving like nice shout outs to like film. You know,
Dude,
under that
that movie was like
Dude,
one of the
something
biggest
beautiful.
reasons why I joined that Shaolin Institute.
He did it like
right around the corner, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was like
hell
one
yeah,
of
that's
the
what-
number one movies that was like, I gotta fucking learn.
I think
kung
the-
fu,
I think
man.
the
and you would think that's what you had to go through, and
Yeah.
some sick part of you was like, "Yo, I need to go through."
Yeah.
It's like I need to become the better version of myself.
Yeah.
You know, without having to sneak in there and play falsehood. You know, that's
I
kinda
think
what
the
this was.
oldest movie that I've watched that was like a karate movie was, what is it called? Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh,
You guys
I haven't
watch
seen
that?
one.
That one right there was a transitional point in the martial arts
Exactly.
environment. You know,
And I just always thought it was funny how, you know, when they would just like run on water, you know that they're on strings, but it's just like
there was
I don't
something
even
so epic
care.
about it.
Like, they're just
If you watched anything before, long enough, when they did that, like you almost left your body.
exactly.
You got
It was
fucking
almost
chills.
when
I just love the creativity, man,
Yeah,
that
just
they
like,
put
yeah.
in just
Is that man
low
walking on
budget.
water?
cinematically.
Yeah, cinematic.
You know, the
Nice.
colors, everything was on point. Cha Young
Orange.
Fat. Cha Young Fat was the round-headed. I believe he was in Crouching Tiger.
I think so.
It's like I'm drawing up. But he may not been there, but he was the floating, bouncing off the house kind of guy. And then
Yeah.
Jet Li came behind him with it and started like bouncing off of rooftops and stuff.
Yeah.
But Jet Li, he sped his stuff up,
Yeah.
and it made it look super awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but
I know what I would always like enjoy watching is all those like Ip Man, IP Man.
oh yeah.
Those
Yeah,
are
I've
just
seen-
fire.
yeah,
seen
Just
some
watching
of those.
it.
The
Me and my
most
brother.
recent one I didn't
Yeah,
like.
The
me-
Grandmaster. Did you watch the Grandmaster?
I don't think I watched the most
Okay.
recent one.
The person who takes his position as Ip Man
Yeah.
is very good as well and
Yeah.
worth watching under a different scope of the same character and what he has to go through to
Yeah.
become.
Okay.
I watch a lot of the Jackie Chan movies.
Facts. Jackie
I was
Chan.
about to jump into
Jackie.
that. I didn't like Jackie Chan when I was in
The
the
moment.
world of
Yeah.
Jackie Chan at the time, but I have
Yeah.
so much respect for him today.
Yeah,
Like, he's
dude.
now
He does all his
he
own
makes
stuff.
it on
Exactly.
he makes it on my
exactly.
Mount Rushmore of
Exactly. Because
You know?
whenever people think of Jackie Chan, they're just like, "Oh, you mean to do his own stunts?
the
You mean
yeah.
he actually do the karate in
Yeah.
like bro, it was just
Because
fire."
he's like, because at the time, like the comedian in him, kind of like, you know, because he later got into Rush Hour and stuff.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he
Rush
started
Hour
being
is my
more.
favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, he started being more. Because what I would watch was less of that.
Yeah.
And when like I went a path that was more Jet Li,
Mhm.
and Jackie Chan was going this way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like being in an Afro community,
Yeah.
you know, that combination between Chris Tucker
Mhm.
and Jackie Chan was like,
Why don't you tell me about it, man?
yo,
No.
that was a huge breakthrough for like you know, because growing up, the African American community,
Yeah.
They love kung fu, bro.
Yeah, it's
'cause
like that's
love
a
kung fu.
Dude,
Yeah.
literally, I have an experience where I'm pretty sure Zion probably remembers. I had a little 3DS. It was around that time. All I had to watch was Rush Hour 1, 2, 3 every time. And remember, I would record like certain spots
my
of it.
Really?
God.
Literally, that's why that stuck in my head. Like, why
Holy
did you tell
shit.
me how to? Because I would literally have it recorded on my DS on repeat. Why didn't
Yeah.
you tell me how to butter, man? Why didn't you tell me? And it was on repeat. And I would listen to it because I just always thought it was funny that he was just like, because I think it was the scene after they had to go into the sewer and they smelled like shit and you
yeah.
know, and so they were in the elevator and then the dog like pees on his foot and they're just trying to have a discussion about him just meeting his brother and how his brother was like they grew up together and like he was from Japan and you know, he was like in an orphanage in China or whatever, and it was just crazy. And I was like, oh, and it was just I always had that recording. Why did you take me out of better, man? It was crazy. And so
wait, what,
I would always tell
I'm trying
Zion.
to imagine this scene. I want to make sure that I'm not getting it confused with the scene where they go to the speakeasy, the Chinese what's his name? Don Cheeto.
Oh yeah.
He
Don
was in there.
Cheeto.
He spoke Cantonese, and he was in the back, and he was running like a gambling show kind of thing, and they go in the back, and they're about to fight. Jackie Chan and Don Cheeto's about to fight, but they were trained by the same like instructor, master, or whatever, and then they stop, and then like Chris Tucker's being a fool, and he's like, he iconically says before they leave. Exactly. That had me rolling, bro. Like that is the ultimate scene.
I know exactly what you're talking about now, bro. Because for a second I was like, wait. Because he owned the restaurant, like right. He owned the restaurant
and he did gambling in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm gonna come up in here.
Don't make me bust up your whole gambling.
Yeah.
He was like, who just kicked me in the face?
Bro, chill, bro. We're gonna have to blow it up.
Fight.
We're gonna have to.
Who the fuck just kicked me?
Oh man.
Yeah, because that was when he went into the. Yeah, he was like, bro, who just kicked me? He was just looking around, and he was like, was it you?
Yeah, he has that frozen look.
Exactly.
Which one of y'all kicked me? I remember that. That whole movie, like I had that. I got a VHS. I have a VHS.
Yeah.
I think there's. I always feel like there's more to it.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a VHS player.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I have a and I have cassettes.
Exactly.
Damn, I feel weird saying all this.
Nah,
but it's like I have I got back into collecting VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I started with my little Disneys or whatever, but I got my I didn't really care too much about them, but that was just for me paying homage to myself and the time frame that I was at the time, whatever. Yeah. But I got my Casper, I got my Jumanji, and
Casper, I like that one.
I want to get Fifth Element, and then I want to get Total Recall. Tuxedo. That's Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's my favorite movie.
And I don't recall that one too. I do. He was a babysitter, right?
Nah, he basically wore this tuxedo that this millionaire gave him right
I was like Iron
right
Man
after
kind of
he died, like right before he died or something. And I don't know, it's like some wasp disease, and he tries to stop some person.
I was like save the world kind of thing.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. I'll speak on my mind. Crank.
Crank
with it was like it wasn't his debut because he did really well in the film with Brad Pitt, who did bare knuckle boxing. It's a classic if you haven't seen it.
I gotta see that one then.
No, not Fight Club.
Still gotta watch that one.
He was a gypsy. What's his face? Brad Pitt was a gypsy in Snatch.
Oh,
Snatch
with fuck.
It's a British film, and it's one of those like 3 scenario plot setups that intermingle,
right?
To create an ultimate plot twist.
Got the whole ass internet.
Yes, I forget. So Snatch. What's his name now? Now the main character who ends up training Brad Pitt. He's in Crank. And the idea is that someone attached a bomb to his heart, and he has to keep moving in order to not let it blow up.
Sounds familiar now, the movie.
Jason Statham?
Yes, that guy.
Yeah.
Who has hands? I'm not going to lie, that boy can throw hands.
Yeah, especially in that one movie where he has a car and he has to, like... Transporter.
That was a nice little collection right there.
He's kicking people's ass.
The Protector.
Oh,
man. A man who goes rogue after poachers take his elephant from him.
Nah, I gotta watch this.
High contrast sensitivity compared to the amount of that was a breakthrough film because we shift from everything else that you would experience in kung fu or what else is there? It was a lot of kung fu going on, and then we go into Muay Thai boxing. But
what is it? Ung Bak? You ever seen
Ung Bak Thai Warrior. It's the same guy.
Oh,
but Ung Bak Thai Warrior, I believe they kind of go more into a prehistorical or like a more historical time period.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Protector came first, and it's same character.
Oh, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about. That guy he beats
Bruh.
people's ass.
He's all like
He fucks people up.
he's like Mike Tyson on every end cap of his body.
Yeah.
yeah,
you know,
he
like, every
breaks
impact-
arms and shit.
Man, there's this one fight scene where he takes the bones. He's fighting this Goliath. It's like a Tekken scene. He's fighting this Goliath kind of guy who comes in after like, oh my god, you got to watch this because like the fight scenes in this is amazing because it's just him and then all the little minions are just running from the doors, all four
Ooh, I know
corners,
what
and they're
scene you're
just.
oh, dude, yes.
What?
And
That's
Man, I gotta
actually,
watch
like,
He
one of
has
the
to
best.
fight. So you get this feel that okay, at some point he has to fight the boss.
right.
You get that high art kind of, old school Bruce Lee, each level kind of thing. And so the boss, if you will, is not the real boss because it's a lady who does a whip kind of. She uses a whip. But the beast before the boss, if you will, is some giant wrestler, huge dude. And at this point, his blows to the skull that, because he would do this infamous move in the film where he would like launch up. He'd hit you with combos and then he'd hit you with combos and then go up and just crack your skull with like when babies
That was a Mortal Kombat. That shit,
when babies
finish him.
that area where babies have that are like left open.
Yeah.
He'd just go ham on that. So he fights the dude, right? And he gets really upset because he realizes, and I'm spoiler, he looks over and he realized that possibly the skeleton of an elephant is possibly the elephant he grew up and raised. So as he's next to it, he I guess he gets thrown into it at one point and breaks, but the bones are huge and massive and they crack. But then the bones are split and they're like razor sharp. Man, I tell you, he takes two. Now he has two identical weapons with like strong points on them with sharp edges. He slices up this dude's ligaments because he just goes bananas. He goes Super Saiyan on him and then you just watch and they go and do like little X-ray kind of like in and out X-ray visions of how his like thing.
This
I gotta
scene
watch
here,
that.
Bro, this
Dude,
yo,
That scene is fucking crazy. Every
Dude,
that's some
I've
John
seen
Wick
this
shit.
before.
Like they
Yeah.
all try to fight him, but they all get fucked up.
Remember-
like nobody can touch him, bro.
Remember
Yeah.
when going to the mall that they used to have like this little booth where this person would sell all the freaking kung fu,
Yes.
karate movies and
Bro,
shit.
in New
dude.
York, that was everywhere. Train
Are you
stations.
from New York?
No, I lived there for 5 years. But dude, this Asian lady always had the shit. She we would go into an IHOP and she would be sitting in a booth selling DVDs. But they were all high grade. I got a fucking Up DVD from her and it was amazing, bro.
Yeah, that was always the thing in Chicago too, because that's how I got like my Rush Hour films. All my I have Rush Hour bootleg,
$1. Yeah, they
It's
were only $1 too.
and I have like Narnia bootleg.
I'm gonna tell y'all about. I forget about it, but I found this DVD in my house.
Yeah,
I don't know where it came from. I just found it in my house when I was a kid. It's called Shinobi, Heart Under Blade. So I did a little research on it. It was a novel.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say prior towards Naruto.
yeah,
Right.
And in theory, I believe Naruto. I mean, Japan, they have their myths and their lores, and they all keep it alive in modern day
Yeah.
Right.
stuff. But something tells me that Naruto got a little inspired by this because if you watch it, it's so dope because these are shinobis who it just gives you pure Naruto vibes, like
Right.
people who are utilizing these subtle, unique skills onto themselves, and they are like this guy right here, I believe. This guy right here, if you see him in the front,
Yeah, it's like
what
a
he
hood
does, the moment he touches your face, he can like absorb your whole identity.
on.
But,
Some
like-
Orochimaru shit.
Yeah, and
Some
this
rich-
dude right here, oops, this guy right here, he's like super strong, I guess. Like he has like deadly blows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of his thing. It's kind of like not I'm not sure. You'd have to watch it because it was such a long time ago, and it was ahead of its time too because it was like 2004.
And they got Naruto right there. So.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it is so there's a lot of, it's connected.
Wait,
Right.
is it called the 12 Shinobi?
No, it's called Heart Under Blade.
Yeah.
Shinobi,
Oh, okay.
Heart Under Blade. And I think it's like a Romeo and Juliet kind of feel to it, like
Mhm.
clans that are separate from one another, and
Right.
there's like a love thing going on.
Okay.
And I believe, and if your audience is strong, they might kill me for like getting it wrong, but we're just gonna pretend I know because I watched it so many times as a kid, but now I got to get back to it. But so these shinobis are sent out to either keep their world alive. Like I think like the shinobi world is kind of like a dying breed,
Right.
and so they have to keep it alive, but they kind of gotta fight against some like imperial empire kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And amongst that, I think that there's like a love triangle thing kind of going on, and we would have to sit down and watch that. They're on a projector or something, but these dudes are. They're like jumping from tree to tree, and they're doing like all the Naruto stuff, man. They're just like they're hopping from tree to tree, fighting in massive forests on like
I gotta
tree
watch
limbs.
that.
Yeah, and like doing like cool stuff like, like they're like a lot of the people are like they're like creatures almost, but they're like humanoid creatures and they're fighting. And like I said, just like how you got I forget the name, but like the guy who's like, all about the snakes and
Orochimaru.
yeah, and it's like very, very similar. You would think that it's a live action Naruto film, but it's 2005, and it's like it's like I said, it was so ahead of its time, and I wanted to share that because in that time frame, you weren't watching Japanese martial art films. You were watching kung fu. You know what I mean? You were watching Drunken Master. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff was like. So when this came, it was just like, what?
I love Drunken Master.
Yeah.
I used to be a kid just.
Yeah, and I swear, like that's the extent of every kid's like martial arts skill, and I'm still very confident thanks to that kind of like I used to watch it to the point where I was just like,
I can do that.
I think that I might be able to take someone. I've watched enough. I watched enough because like
I got it right here.
Oh, you locked it in.
My photo imagery.
Shinobi Heart
I
Under
know
Blade.
exactly what he did.
Yeah, so let me finish my story about like accidentally being in a gay relationship.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know how we got to Rush Hour.
Hey man, I'm all about like I'm like your mom in a sense where it's like I don't really like I'm stepping more
Free
into
form.
and that's kind of where I discover where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that like even right now I need to lighten up on myself, but I'm going through a point in my life where like I'm pressing the gas and I need to know where I'm going, and and I think it's smart to kind of know that, right? To know when it's if life is like a dojo, if you want to keep everything connected, then it all depends on your situation. And if you're a master of life, what art form you're going to use in contrast to your opponent or the obstacle. You don't run straight when you need to jump. I think that there's a selective kind of thing going on there. So right now I'm utilizing this, like I'm utilizing all the energy of planning and failing and planning and failing and writing lists and failing and writing lists and failing, you know what I mean? And just like obsessively taking notes on what I should be doing and what I want and how it's going to look and, manifesting and all that kind of stuff to now being like, well, I have an idea, and I just need to go forward. I have will, I need to just go forward.
Have you tried voice memos?
Voice memos?
Yeah, like if you have an iPhone.
Oh! I see what you're saying. So I do that for story building. Yeah. I do that for story building. When I'm driving, I'll talk to myself about like what I'm doing with my characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I know.
We need to talk about that.
Well, not only that, like so, and I'm just drawing away from the whole the story, but I did a book signing today, and in the so real quick, I'm gonna do a little plug if that's okay.
Yeah.
I have a middle grade novel that stretches into YA because as you read it, it progresses in a way for the reader to mature along each page. Yeah. And it's a story about a young girl who moves to a small town in California to live with her grandparents, who she's new to. She doesn't know them that well, right. And so just after her mother passes away, her father walks out on her, and the only thing she has left is a stuffed rabbit named Brownie that her mom gives her before she passes away. It's the only thing she has left to call family. And so she goes to this new small town, and she meets a young girl named Katie, who it's exciting because her her family, her mom is Afrocentric. She's from Germany, you know, and she's a champion of cheese tasting, and so she goes to like World Cups around the world to compete in tasting cheese and knowing exactly what it is. And so that's a huge part of the plot as well. But
I want to pause and ask you a question real quick. Because you said the story is about, like, you said it represents your daughter, correct?
Yeah, yes.
So are the grandparents representing you and your, like, yourself?
No. The grandparents. Okay, so I slowed down a bit because I don't like.
Want to spoil it?
Not even really. It's like I didn't write this story. I wrote it like when I show people the book, they come back and like, yo, is this a true story? Like, did this really happen to you? Because I leave hints of sexual abuse in there. I leave like little Easter eggs in there. That was my experience. So like I replicate the author in the story who's journeying off to go see their mother to tell her a dark secret. And in doing so, he comes across a young girl. So it's third person omniscient, meaning that you listen to the story from a narrative point and a narrative point of multiple expressions.
Like Quentin Tarantino in a way.
Yeah, and so, but if we were to take it on page, so John Milton,
like Paradise Lost,
yeah. So like, I said that, and I kind of like stepped into a different dimension with you. But one of the main characters of my book is John Milton, and he represents, hints and notes of what I went through in life, and so I created this character, and so he's going from kind of like up north Connecticut to Savannah, Georgia, to talk to his mother about what has really been festering up in him, and he wants to get off his chest. But he's grumpy, he's odd, but all the while he keeps seeing rabbits. He doesn't know what it means, but everywhere he turns, and in the first couple of chapters, you learn that in the first couple of chapters, you learn that he you learn that he used to pool hop. And pool hopping was something that I did with my cousins. So I wanted to throw that in and pay homage to being just a rebel, just hopping over fences that belonged to other people and going swimming. Right. And so he used to pool hop out of being rebellious to the fact that he just didn't get enough attention growing up, whatever. And so, but one house he's hopping, he discovers like there's a dog, a Rottweiler, that's like could chew him up at any will, but he loves playing with that kind of danger. He even shares that like it's an actual relationship, even though if that dog caught him, it would rip him apart. So, but he's like, he goes and visit the dog, and he taunts it, and it's but the dog's name was Bunny, which is my point. Everything in his life, from him going to college, they had a bunny mascot. He had to save a bunny from a sewer stuck in a pipe. Right. And so he meets a girl named Rosie at a bench where the buses come and pick them up. So you got this like Forrest Gump kind of setting, and so he's sitting next to an 11-year-old who can't stop talking, and as soon as he sees like this huge this huge like burn mark on her leg, he's like, what happened? And then like she then takes the story from there and talks to John Milton, which now we switch the focus in the narration, and we listen to the story from her about what she went through, and then we break it up from time to time, and then John Milton adds his points, but it always stays after that, like, you know what I mean. So and the issue with him is she's telling him a story. He is a publisher who is in need of a story, so there's this kind of enticement that goes on there as well. He starts to get inspired and starts asking questions. He finds himself kind of being like a journalist in a way, with it. So he's dealing. So my lead character is a Latino protagonist, and I do a lot of I write people of color, but I do it in a very interesting way. So I'll do it as where it's like like I like doing mixed up families. Like I like African American father, light skinned mom, vice versa. Like her friend she meets is like from her mom's, like they have a German background, but they're dark you know what I mean? And it's like I like doing stuff like that. But just to shout it out real quick, if you go to my website zenjjackson.com, you can get a copy of paperback, digital, and I created a.
I'll definitely get it.
Yeah,
definitely. It sounds really interesting, man.
It's a quick read. It's paceful. The pace is nice, and I write like I'm writing a film. But film in itself, when you write for it, it has to be in present tense so that people can shoot it and actualize it. But what I mean by that, I write it in a sense so you can kind of have an easier way to project the visuals in your head.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like simply read, but like enough to give you momentum into going forward in it, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a deep thriller. Because it gets pretty deep, you know, multiple plots going on, and it swings back into one.
Right.
But it's book 1 of 3, so but yeah, I even created a soundtrack to it, and I gotta pull it back up, but I got a game I've been working on. I was in school, and anytime I had a project, I would utilize a project that I needed to do for myself to fill it in school. So I had to make a game in school, and the game was like a storytelling kind of game. So like what I mean by that is it was a game where you read and listen to audio and look at pictures, and you get to choose your direction. So you came up with like 4 different plots, and depending on your choice, you would have one of 4 different endings. Yeah, you know, and the site that you use to build that kind of game, and I'd have to get back to you and share that with you. But it's the site. Any one of us can build a game off of any content, and it's used.
I think I know what you're talking. What type of site? I
got to get back to you because I don't use it that much, but.
Are you thinking on making a game for the book, or?
Well, it's there. It's there.
It's like
I already made it. I just need to. It's at beta state. It's at a beta level. You know what I mean? I need to do more.
Finalization.
Yeah, I got to edit it a little bit because the project for me was to get something done. I wanted to get a draft done and take it aside, you know. And so like you could play it and see what it does, but it replicates the book because there's the direction where she discovers a barn full of rabbits, and then you discover like that chaotic world, that misleading world. You think something's good going on there, but something messed up and bad is happening. And then there's the route where she meets this creature who steals her stuffed rabbit that her mom gave her before she passed away, and so you go down that path of following him and understanding what and discovering the creature. So those things actually happen in the book, but I wrote it to tie it together. You get to live out each experience individually. Depending on your choices.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like old books like Goosebumps and stuff where you turn to page this, but it's more of it's digital and it's a game in a sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, zenjjackson.com, and all prices and everything is there. But you know, you can even I like making music, so I even created a soundtrack to it, you know, as well. So, you know, I'm very thankful I sold 10 books, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the people that I met at this book sale, at the book signing. So, one of 2 people I met, like every time I step out, I meet very interesting people, and I owe it to myself to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is telling stories, because I do meet people all over the world really well. I meet a lot of great people, but there's something about, I'm not even going to lie, because if you were to strip my life naked, everything is just happening all in the way it's supposed to be. Like, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's all about where I'm at. You know what I mean? And where I'm at is going to align to the frequency that I'm emitting, as well as, like, I mean, that's just sum total of the being. So, yeah, if I'm expressing a certain frequency, no matter where I'm at, that frequency is what led me to be where I'm at. You know what I mean? So it's like who I am as a being brought me to whatever place I'm at. So I can't second, you know, if, like I've been trying to work at GameStop just to kind of like make a couple quick bucks and give my kids the games and stuff. And it's like, if I'm not there, it goes back to that simple saying, it's not meant to be, you know, or if I'm there, it's like easy to be like, oh, and then I meet people coming in. I know, like, if I worked at GameStop, like part-time or whatever, I would meet so many people to the point where I would meet a certain type of people. I would meet a bunch of people that would really appreciate that I'm working on an anime pilot, right? And then I would also, and they would also appreciate that I established a book. That directly connects to my TikTok page, which is now meshing this. I write story. I'm working on an anime pilot, and oh yeah, I sell books, and it's just a manifestation of that world. If I were to ever go into that space and make that decision, it kind of just mirrors it. You know
So
what I
like,
mean?
if since you're making that book, you just want to be in a space where everything kind of correlates or can benefit you with that book, kind of. So like, since you want to go to the game, like if you worked at GameStop, you just want to be in that whole world.
I think for him, it's probably what he's trying to say is like more of like an opportunity. So like, say like Christmas time comes around, he's out at GameStop, so he has the opportunity to give his sons, his kids, like certain gifts from GameStop. And if he's not there, then that means it wasn't meant for you.
I'm probably getting money some other way, and I can
Yeah.
still get it done. And that little discount that I'm probably celebrating over is not even worth anything because I'm making enough to, like, you know, if we were to get down and be grounded and talk, you know, and talk money and whatever, you know, like if we wanted to dance on that plane. But what I'm also saying is that, like, because, like, I also pay homage to my kids. Like, at the same time, it's like, at a point, I only worked out. There's a restaurant in Connecticut up north known as Friendly's. I don't know if they have it in Chicago. You know Friendly's. You lived in New York. You heard of Friendly's?
Probably.
So it's like it's the popularized modern American food place.
Yeah.
Burgers and fries kind of joint, you know, but they sold ice cream, some, like, you know what I mean?
It sounds like Freddy's that's right around the corner.
Exactly.
Right here.
And like milkshake and
Exactly,
ice, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I worked there solely to make my daughter happy. Like, I didn't want to do it. I didn't care for it, but I wanted to, like, I just wanted to have those moments where I can excite her with bringing her ice cream or being the person behind the counter serving the ice cream to her favorite kind, because in Connecticut, everyone has, like, this awareness of Friendlies, you know what I mean? In a certain light, you know, and so the kids loved the chicken fingers and the fries. They were just notorious for their honey mustard chicken fingers and their fries. Yeah. It was just, like, the number one thing. And then, like, they had, like, cotton candy ice cream and stuff like that. And I wanted to do that. And that's the same thing that I would do with no shame to go to GameStop. But in also retrospect to that, like, I'm learning more. Like, I'm going back next weekend to do a book signing with them, and I'm going to go again next weekend. And in doing that, like, the strength of the individual I meet is far more potent when, and this might just be a perception thing, this might not be the case, but, like, to go into fine detail, I feel like when I'm in alignment with people, from doing exactly what I feel like is more freedom setting, like anything that gives me more freedom vibes, like selling my own books, you know, versus working at anywhere, you know what I mean? Like, if, like, I love the people that I meet just from pulling them through energetically and meeting them, but when I'm selling a book, I feel like the difference is that if I meet someone, they're more likely to come through on their promises versus, like, if I meet someone elsewhere during if I'm at work and shift, I think that I get more talkers if I were to be straightforward. You know what I mean? And so the two people that I met today, one was a professional basketball trainer for people overseas. And I liked him because despite what he did, he was a weeb. He was a nerd. He loved action figures. So we sat and talked about, because I grew up with Power Rangers, and you know, I want to start up my Spider-Man and Power Ranger collection. These collections, dude. And on top of that, when you talk about fire, it's like when you read their stories, it's like it's way more dramatic and more aggressive than what we grew up on television. It's a little bit more.
I didn't really see the television version.
Power Rangers. The only thing I really remember is, like, big dude at the end. They all get together.
Very strong template. Very. But that was all Japan first. Like that, Power Rangers came from Japan.
I've only seen the American version. So
in Japan,
what is it called? Like Super Sentai or something like that?
So I don't even know. And that's those who are. I want to collect those. That's where I want to get to.
I'm pretty sure it's called like Super Sentai. I feel like I'm like 80% sure on that. I'll even go to like my anime app and
he's like, was that guy collecting? But
No, he was he knew what he was talking about, so he was looking for specific Marvel toys, like a very specific kind.
Yep.
Like a run of toys. Like he wanted a specific type, and like he bought a book, and he gave me a tip to reimburse me for the cut, the 20% that I was going to give the bookstore off of the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So that action in itself was just like, man, this guy is so like, you know, so he's aware of what's going on, and like he's like willing to help. You know what I mean? So I found a lot of truth in him, and he gave me his number, and we synced up. And then another guy, very similar vibes, but this dude was from California,
Right.
and he was talking about his history, whereas like he was deep into the marijuana industry when it was like legal, but in California, and his whole run was like, and I'm jumping into the middle of his story, but like his whole run was like just before they legalized it. So he like lost his family, his like house, everything out of running into like issues, you know, law wise speaking, like, you know, but then they go on back and legalize it, and like, you know what I mean, and like his world was taken from him.
Yeah, I don't know why.
That is
they do shit like that.
But he was one of the first. He was a celebrity chef for plant-based foods and raw food, and you know, but what we started talking about was the fact that he has a friend that does animation for big-time shows that we watch, Marvel animation for, like, you know, but the kid versions. Like, they got this kid version, and Marvel, he animates to this day for them, and a couple of other projects he's been working on. And he's like, yo, I genuinely want to connect you with this guy. But we all hear stuff like that all the time. There was something different about this one. You know what I mean? He was like reassuring in a sense that, like, you know, and if it doesn't go through, and it's, you know, and it doesn't happen, I'm not gonna cry over it. But you know what I mean? But I love falling in love into this idea of things actually working. You know what I mean? Because I talk with Zion, and that's me. Like, you know, I listen to a lot of Gary Vee, and I find similarities with this whole thing about like you gotta like really prove to him that you can't trust. Like, you know, that he can't trust you. You gotta prove to me. You gotta really prove to me. Like, I don't look at you and you gotta work for my trust. I don't look. You don't give me. I don't. People don't have to like. I don't have to like not trust someone. That's not how I come. Like, I trust everyone. Like, everyone's full. You know when you go to high school or you want to go to school, and then like everyone starts off with 100, and then you do crappy, and then it deducts. Yeah. Similar thing with my trust bank. It's just that's what it is. It's like I don't lose trust in you unless you start doing crazy shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but even then, I'm still a little bit. I transcended abuse, and there are always a little bit of trace in that. So I don't know when sometimes I'm being abused in a sense, and sometimes I'm just like numb to it, so it occurs, you know, and I'm just like, all right, cool. But like even in that, like going through those kind of trenches, you know, I develop and become anew. But my point of even saying all this is because like I have a really dope project that I want to work with you guys on, you know, and it's, you know, you're aware of my anime pilot. Recently my laptop broke, right, and so I lost everything. So I even like the raw files of the logo and like the banners that I created for platforms that I wanted to host it on and stuff like that. So I said, cool, this is perfect because now I get to really utilize all that stuff that I was learning as I was just jumping on it. And now I want to turn. Now I'm a little nervous saying this out loud, you know, because it's so I already told you, but it's so refreshing, and I believe I already told you, but maybe off air we can talk about it a little bit more. But I want to communicate my anime pilot in a different light that I think is going to benefit a particular community in a certain way, and we will.
I'm pretty sure we told him about it. So
we will all be able to eat from it. I just need more plot holes on it to be filled. As far as like, because I got the general energy and the idea of how it would work, and I think as a community, when we kind of like, you know, put our minds together, we can make sure that, you know, it's touching every aspect that's needed in order to
added perspective.
Yes, and it can solidify the position it's gonna go in. You know what I mean? And I have some ideas, but overall, I'm working on the episodes. I'm getting the story, and I think that for me, all I've ever wanted was this story to be one of the biggest stories on the planet.
Yeah.
And I think that not just in today, right now, I'm not just going to rely on the quality of the story, but also the timing. Granted that this is a 15-year-old story just about, and I wrote this, and my math could be off, but immediately after 2009, I started I started creating, illustrating just scenes and stuff like that.
Right.
And so now I'm fleshing it out to a point where everything is kind of like his story, magic systems, worlds, characters, everything is there. It's just that everything's more organized and everything is than before. And so now I can either write it as a novel, I can do this, but right now, I talked to my wife is all about get it in story format first, get it into a book first, and let's rock that way. But I think what I'm about to release now, putting it in animation first will make it so relevant and so unique in the executional process, process of it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's more importantly to start off. I've been wanting to do an animation. I've been wanting to skip all the fluff and just make an animation out of mere excitement. But now I feel 100% confident that I can do it finally and know that I can get the same level of return that Marvel would get if they would release a film and what it would gross.
Right.
If you know what I mean, and how to sustain that.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean.
What you also could do is because how you're doing, you can release like the episodes, and then while you release the episodes, you can be making the book as well, and be like, you can get the hard copy of like episodes like 1 through 5. Yeah, and you can just get a hard copy, and they can read it as well if they feel like it. Get it.
And give people the options if they want to have like NFTs connected to it. You know what I mean? It's like
Zion was telling me about the NFTs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to make some NFTs for the book and stuff. And you.
Yeah, and like I said I'll get more into it with this particular project, but we can and it's funny because I can't hold myself back from really talking about it, but I feel like I have so many.
You're like
ideas.
A bee carrying too much honey.
We were talking about that, but honestly, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like I have a lot of guardian angels that I'm protected from falling short into this idea that anyone's going to rob me of anything right now. I feel like I'm to do something.
Totally understandable.
I mean? Yeah. So it's like in subcontext to the story, you create the collectibles from the story that people can trail and run off into while they get to experience. Because I'm still trying to figure out how to display the animation in a way for people to really own. You know what I mean? But I know that they can own and trade the NFTs that stem from the stories, the little collectibles. You know what I mean? But it's like one of my favorite games in the world is Jack and Daxter.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I heard about
Jack and Daxter.
So imagine so an NFT from that game would be collecting those orbs or those golden eggs.
Right.
So in the NFT space, if the orbs are different colors or came randomly at times in the story sequence of your collectibles, like if you have like 1,000, if you have 1,000 gold eggs, but they're not all gold, like your original one's gold, but the rest are made out of like earth elements, crystals, and yada yada yada. And people are craving over it because somebody wants the crystal version and they want to sell it and flip that and find value in that. Like, people identify with it and then flip it over time. But they go to someone who is launching a project that is worthy of investing in and selecting and doing that from, Insane Clown Posse just
I'm gonna have to send you there's a comic that's similar to what like you're kind of wanting to do. I'm gonna have to send you that. That's pretty, I like what you're saying. Yeah.
But what's gonna separate us from everyone else and give us like, I'd say like a 5-year lead is how we execute it.
Right.
And how you build the community is gonna get built around it, and then from that space, what we'll do is just like if you were to go to watch your favorite anime, and then after that you wanted to go to GameStop and buy the hat because it represents the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same situation in the digital space.
That reminds me of the conversation that you and I had the other day, how we were saying like if both of our books, like not if when both of our books blow up,
Yeah.
we both would cry if we saw like one of like if somebody just pulled up fully cosplayed as like our main character of one of our characters, because that means like they're appreciating your story enough to where they want to physically represent it.
Because think of it, the NFT space is all about JPEGs and short form animation GIFs, GIFs or whatever. And people are buying those loops and people are buying images right now. That is YouTube when YouTube was just a platform when everyone was just throwing on garbage and just doing videos, and then they became. But when you look at YouTube now or Facebook, any of those before they became what they are now, their transition happened, and what that transition was, people started to understand storytelling. People started to understand how to tell story.
Okay,
and so
that's concepts.
That's how I'm gonna bridge the gap. I'm gonna make a platform that consists of doing what everything is happening now in NFT space, but we're gonna focus more on comics. We're gonna focus more on actual storytelling, so people can lose their souls in it and still want to collect and take from it as much as they can.
So you want to build a platform where it's just not just that, but like other people's stuff. Or
but I'm using what we have. We have his story, we have my story. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and we're just gonna run with that, and we're gonna say this is the project that you need to run on, because in itself, this is the one of a kind.
Right.
You know what I mean? No other project is doing this right now. Is hence why in this space alone you want to be the first in this space, because this is an art renaissance. This is a digital art renaissance.
Exactly.
Right now. So this kind of renaissance that's occurring right now, everybody is catching, like, everyone's getting excited when they see something new, but they're kind of like looking left and right and seeing who's budging first to kind of make that micro trend happen, so they can follow in that direction, because no one knows what the hell they're doing.
Exactly. A lot of people don't really know why it is the way that it is. Right now.
But they're following the money and they're following trends, which is helping them out. But now what we're doing is, like, while they're looking at a singular wave,
hype, we're actually gonna find a sustainable.
While they're looking at the singular wave in motion, we're looking at the ocean. You know what I mean? We're saying how we can add water to that. You know what I mean? So, and by doing that, I want to, in essence, extend I want to extend and add to the storytelling ability or potential that the whole NFT space has to offer, as far as what we do through gameplay. How I know this is gonna work, because there's games you can play, and what are games? Stories that you get to interact with.
Exactly.
They're not doing films, like even regular films. Like, you can do the same thing. You know what I mean? And I know this can work, because I went to school, and in school we learned what is it called? Transmedia. So have you ever seen the Blair Witch Project?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I still gotta watch it. But
Okay, so
I find it fascinating that the budget was just so low, and
but this is how they built their audience. So what they did was they released their film, not even built their audience, but this is how they created a cult around it. They built an audience, and then they built a website, and
made it interactive,
and
make it look like it actually happened and stuff.
They kept it in the world so that you can, so it's like, imagine you created a story and it was a mystery, but then you created a website where whoever signs up to the website, they get bits and pieces of how they can discover the mystery for themselves, or a plot that you created that came from that world for them to discover in themselves. Making your titles everlasting to them. And that's more for the catering group of those who are committed to your tribe already. And as we were talking about Self-Go,
I just had an idea. I'm gonna say it off podcast, but
I mean, and like, apart from this,
we're almost done.
I'm sorry, like, I don't know if I don't know if there was any value in this, bro. I know,
definitely,
for sure.
The hours are always, they
You're
fly
a guest,
by.
bro.
I hope you come another episode, man, so we can talk even more, man.
I wanna talk to you guys about this, because I definitely don't want to do this alone. Like, I got that guy introduced an animator to me. The guy introduced an animator to me, so I'm already manifesting him on board. I met an illustrator, a professional illustrator today. His skills are off the chart. You know what I mean? My goal is to just set up the story Bible, let people know, like, because I studied pitch. So like, if I wanted to pitch it to Cartoon Network, I'm just doing that. I'm creating the world, and I'm creating.
We're almost up, bro. We're almost up.
How
We
long?
got 10 more seconds.
Oh yeah, wrap it up. Go ahead and like.
So, hey, thank you so much for coming, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hopefully you come next time. So
For
yeah,
sure.
we're gonna sign out, guys. So check out next week's.